The Northern Elders Forum, NEF, has said millions of Northerners who have obtained their permanent voters card, which is otherwise known as the PVC, are selling them to politicians for less than 2,000 naira. The statement made yesterday by the Director of Publicity and Advocacy of NEF, Dr. Hakim Baba Ahmed, said the electorate, and especially women, were being deceived to sell their PVCs for less than 2,000, an action he described as a ploy to disenfranchise some Nigerians in the north. The Independent National Electoral Commission had said politicians were buying PVCs from registered voters to harvest their voters' identification number ahead of the elections. We have in the studio Zainab Aminu Abubakar, Assistant Chief Information Officer of INEC. It's a pleasure to have you join us, madam.
It's my pleasure.
And of course, we will also have joining us via Zoom, Awal Ibrahim Musa Rafsanjani, the Executive Director, Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, CISLAC, and Head of Transparency International Nigeria, to discuss the implication of this development and how it will affect the 2023 general election. I understand that we still have a few technical issues to sort out until we get Rafsanjani live with us in the studio. However, we have Zainab Aminu Abubakar here with us, and we would begin with you. It's a pleasure to have you join us once again.
It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you. You recently commenced the distribution of PVCs. We've seen a few very interesting reports, I think from Kaduna and Abuja, where we have seen commendable turnouts of Nigerians to pick their PVCs. What updates do you have with us? How has that gone on, you know, in the face of the mad rush that we have seen to most of your offices across the country?
You know, Nigerians, they can't do without that mad rush that you mentioned. The PVC collection is slated to commence on the 12th of December 2022. It will last till 22nd of January. And it's done at the INEC local government offices nationwide, all the 774 local governments that we have. Then from 6th of January to 15th of January, it will be devolved to the registration area centers so that it will be closer to the prospective owners and be easy for them to go get their cards. And the reports we are receiving is impressive, is commendable, even though in some collation centers, you will see the impatience from the prospective card owners. If only they will behave themselves, be orderly, be in a queue, they will all be attended and be issued with their cards. But nevertheless, the Commission is trying its best, and we are hopeful at the end of it all, we are going to get it right.
Okay. Well, talking about PVCs, we are hearing quite controversies about politicians just finding their way to buy people's PVCs for less, 2,000 naira or less. We are hearing. Have you had such information, or how are you navigating that?
Yeah, we've had such information, and as we always said, INEC plan and conduct election, but the security of the election lies on the security agencies before, during, and after the elections. And the security agencies are the one that will be held accountable to make an arrest on such cases. And we are having a series of meetings under the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security, where the INEC chairman and the National Security Advisor are co-chairmen of the committee at the national level. Then at the state level is the Resident Electoral Commissioner and Commissioner of Police. Then at the local government is the Electoral Officer and the DPO. And they are on top of the situation. They are trying their best. If we could remember last month or so, I think 2 people were arrested in Kano and Sokoto. They were caught in possession of multiple voters' cards that is not their own. They were charged to court, prosecuted, and convicted according to the law. So they are assuring us they are on top of the situation. They will put their eyes on the politicians and the voters as well, because it's an offense. For a voter, if you sell your voter card for a token fee of 2,000 naira, You've sold your right to complain if the government failed. You've not contributed in like making the government. So you didn't like exercise your civic right. And for the politicians, they are not supposed to buy voter cards. Come out, do your campaign, say your manifestos, tell them what you want to do and achieve. Then you win their mind for them to like vote for you in the forthcoming general election.
Interesting developments there. I was trying to run a mental calculation in my head. 2,000 naira for 4 years would mean you have sold your right for 2 naira per day over a 4-year period. That's, if it's up to 2 naira, it's about 1 naira 30-something kobo. You should ask yourself whether your actual day is just what 1 naira 30-something kobo. But I need a bit of education around this whole PVC cells. I know we have the beavers. There is the authentication of the fingerprint. There is also the facial recognition. Isn't it useless for these PVCs to be sold? How would it be possible that I could come to a polling unit with somebody else's voter's card and vote? Or is it a case of people just buying it so that they can make those cards invalid by just not allowing those people show up? What do you think the situation is?
That's just the right word you use, useless, because they can't use it to vote on election day. You have to come with your PVC and you have to be the real owner of the card for the beavers to authenticate you, either using your fingerprint or your facials. So we don't know what is the motive behind that, but the politicians knows better. But as for the commission, it's useless because you can't use another person's voter card to vote on election day.
Just another quick follow-up. So for those places where you had made arrest, as you rightly educated us earlier, where you have found those volumes of voter card, what then becomes the fate of it? I know in the bank those days, once you put in your card and it's a rejected transaction, the machine holds back the card. You have lost it. You probably will have to. Do you then return the voters' cards to the individuals, or it practically just invalidates whatever is found?
Yeah, for now, the voter cards are with us in our Kano and Sokoto office. So it's left for the owners to go and claim their card, and they will be issued back with their cards.
But they have also committed offense by selling, isn't it? So when they come to you...
then the police, if the police arrest them, then they will prosecute them according to the offense they committed.
So still with the PVC collections, Nigerians are also worried. We know that when you opened up for registration, some of your centers were besieged with a lot of crowd, forcing the commission at some points to even open up multiple centers and even creating special centers at some place. I'm just wondering whether we are going to see that kind of arrangement just to encourage a lot of people to be able to pick up these cards, because we know how Nigeria operates. This is practically the last week you will get anything serious before the Yuletide. People will be traveling almost everywhere. Are you thinking in that direction?
The Commission is watching closely the development of the happenings around the collection of the permanent voter cards. And perhaps they may meet and decide on that. But for now, I can't say anything like that. But we are hopeful positive outcome will come out of it, because the cards were produced and it's meant for the voters to collect so that they will use it to vote on election day. So all what we want is for the owners to have their cards, keep it safe till the election day.
Okay. Now, from your engagement with community, how would you say the level of willingness of these individuals, how eager are they, to vote in the coming election?
They are eager to vote, especially the women. If we take a look of the statistic of the last CVR, we recorded about 12-point-something million. Then after the abyss, the cleanup of the register, we were left with a total of 9-point-something. Out of that 9-point-something, 4.8 are women, about 50.82%. So they are eager They came out, they register, and we are hopeful, and we are doing a lot of advocacy visits, market outreaches, courtesy calls, programs in TV and radio station, workshops. A lot of enlightenment and sensitization is going on. And we want the stakeholders to, let's all join hands, the media, the NGOs, the traditional title holders, the politicians, to all put our hands together to mobilize the voters to come out and vote.
Interesting. I understand that we now have joining us the head of Transparency International Nigeria, as well as the Executive Director of Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, CISLAC, Mr. Awal Ibrahim Musa, otherwise popularly known as Rafsanjani. It's a pleasure to have you join us this morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning. It's good to see your face. I see you more often outside this country than I see you at home. I was mentioning to Zainab, even though we are next door neighbors as it appears. But it's good to bring you into this conversation. We were just listening to Hajia Zainab, take us through the efforts of the Commission with regards to the PVCs, the collections, and even arrests that have been made by in some states where we've had people take these PVCs away or buy them for as cheap as 2,000. But I would like you to address something that is even slightly, slightly different from what she has said, but of critical importance. Today, on the cover of the Daily Trust, we have a story here of INEC saying 57 attacks have so far been recorded in its facility. And of course, we know that most of these attacks have happened in one section of the country. What do you think is the implication of this sustained, continuous, vicious attack on the facilities of INEC in regards to the collection of this PVC and its eventual impact on the forthcoming election?
Thank you very much, and good morning, Nigerians. This is a very disturbing development as we move towards having a free, fair, and credible election in Nigeria for 2023. This attack, a calculated attempt to mobilize Nigerians to be able to elect leaders at local, state, and national level in order to ensure that they perform their democratic and constitutional right. Those who are doing this, obviously, the agenda has nothing to do with goodness of the people, but to prioritize them to ensure that election did not hold in those places, to create chaos, to perpetuate illegality in those places. So therefore, Transition Monitoring Group and many other civil society organizations have actually condemned or have been condemning these personal and facilities, because the only alternative to this is not having an election, which undermines collective in those areas where those things are happening. But I think if the security agencies, if the government are willing to ensure that this at least are addressed, it is not out of hand. Government and security agencies should begin to work with community leaders, religious leaders, political leaders, to ensure that those perpetrators, those who are perpetrating this act of evil, are actually identified and arrested, then prosecuted. It is not impossible to do that, or else it's as good as saying that we have surrendered the country to them. You remember, even in 2019, 2015, where we had intense Boko Haram attack, that has not stopped in any way conducting election in the Northeast. So it is also possible that with the collective effort, it is possible to stop this. What I see is that there has not been effort from the government to identify the enablers. You see, both those who are doing this attack and those who are also selling their PVC, treating these atrocities, this criminality, nobody is arresting them, nobody is doing anything to them. So they get away with this impunity. And there's no way any country will succeed when you have this group of people who undermine democratic values. Election is fundamental, and if you do not allow election to happen, it means that you are advocating for chaos. You are advocating for a system that has no any meaning in the modern world now. So therefore, civil society are doing everything possible to mobilize, sensitize Nigerians to stay away from electoral violence. Nigerians, should understand that electoral violence is not beneficiary, and it has nothing to do with your yearning and aspiration. So we have been discouraging many Nigerians, especially the innocent ones who have been, more of like inducted to think that it is only when they involved in act of vandalism, act of thuggery, act of violence, it is only when they do that they think they will meet.
So, Rev. Sanjani, I would like to get...
Okay, go on.
Thank you very much. I would like to get some prescriptions from you, if you like. We have seen the kind of security emergencies that we have had in some of these parts of the country, especially where this facility have been hit with brutal violence. And the implications of that is that no peace-loving Nigeria would put its life at risk just to be part of an election. What would you recommend specifically, that should happen now? Why a larger initiative of returning peace to the area happen? Should we have security people deployed to INEC facilities just to provide some safety nets or assurances to Nigerians in these areas of their security when they go to pick up this PVCs?
I can assure you that if government is determined to ensure that the perpetrators are prevented from this reckless and senseless attack, it is very possible. Like I mentioned to you, government and security agencies can work with the community leaders, they can work with the religious leaders, they can work with the political leaders, they can work with other stakeholders as well in each of those places where this kind of attack are happening. These are people from this community, and if the community in that particular area, they are determined to say, look, this is our children, this is our brothers and possibly sisters that are doing this, and we need to ensure that we deal with this decisively. It is not impossible that because of the action of maybe less than 2% or 1% of the people that are doing this and they cannot, prevent it. It is possible it can be prevented. So, physical security, education, because a lot of young people have gone mad, unfortunately, because they have been brainwashed that the only thing they need to do is to engage in this kind of violence and thuggery. Their problems. I think it is possible with the right, sensitization, with the right, if you like, dialogue, with the right, policing, with bringing in security both in uniform and outside uniform. When you combine all these efforts, I think we will be able to minimize this kind of attack on INEC facilities, because if the enablers are identified, are arrested, I don't think they will be able to fuel or they will be able to finance this act. This thing is business. People that are doing this thing They are getting money from it in many instances. So who are financing this? Who are supporting this? The security need to get the root of this. I think it is possible. It is not impossible to do that if we are determined as a nation to be able to minimize this kind of situation that is happening.
Okay. So, Mr. Awal, now before we let you go, with this, pockets of violence that we're seeing, around INEC offices, don't you think this is going to cause a kind of voter apathy at the end of the day?
If Nigerians are determined and they know the consequences of not having, a free, fair, and credible election, I believe that Nigerians will rise up to ensure that this must stop. So that is why I say it shouldn't be between them and us. It should be a collective responsibility. The political parties, the politicians, they must be seen to be involved. So far, we did not see political parties and politicians condemning this act and insisting that their followers or people that they are financing to do this must stop. So therefore, the government must find a way to bring in the politicians, the political parties, community leaders, religious leaders, and civil society and every other stakeholders to discourage this kind of irresponsible and reckless behavior by some few individuals who are sponsored, who are paid agitators. Because many of these people, when you ask them why are you doing this, there is no any tangible reason for doing that. And what peace did not bring, violence cannot bring. So therefore, we believe as civil society, we need to intensify, sensitization, voter education, and be able to convince Nigerians that the only way that they can, be able to aspire good governance is when we have free, fair, and credible election, and we have the right leaders in place that can be able to assist in ensuring that governance actually ascends from stomach infrastructure and reckless spending, but it is through their participation, through the ensuring that they come to elect people that are accountable for whatever action they are doing. But if they stay away or if they allow this kind of people to deprive them, then we will not be able to experience good governance. The poverty, the insecurity, the care system, educational system will continue to happen in the country and will continue to lament. So therefore, it is an opportunity for us to, through democratic and peaceful manner, be able to bring in credible, competent, qualified leaders at local, state, and national level that will come to help ensure that Nigerians experience democratic dividend.
Thank you very much, Rev Sanjani. Let me put on record that we practically have to deny you your sleep. It's somewhere around 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. in Washington, D.C. To be able to join this program and provide insightful details. I hope we don't disrupt the remaining part of the sleep for you. You should be able to go back to sleep now with a sound conviction that you have lended your voice to good governance in Nigeria. Do have a lovely week ahead and a lovely outing in Washington, D.C.
Thank you very much.
See you soon. Ajay, you have listened to Rev Sanjani, provide his perspective on what is happening. But from the part of the Commission, essentially, for the ones we have seen, our viewers would like to understand, would this have any impact with regards to people from these areas being able to pick up their PVCs?
This recent attack on our facilities is very worrisome and alarming, especially as we are at the critical stage of the 2023 general elections. Already we have started deploying election materials to the various states for onward delivery to the RAs and PUs on election day. So if we have already made deployment, then the offices were attacked, I think is worrisome, it's alarming and is disturbing. In the last 4 months, about 7 of our offices were attacked. The recent ones are the one in Abeokuta South in Ogun, followed by Ede South in Oshun, EZ local government in Ebonyi. Then 3 attacks within 2 weeks in Imo State. So the commission is trying its best, like, to make sure that all the materials that were destroyed are replaced, but it will reach a time that it will be too tight for us to make provisions of such materials that were destroyed. So the chairman of the commission has called an emergency meeting with the excess to discuss and find a lasting solution to these incessant attacks of our offices.
You know, I'm really concerned. Just earlier, as I asked Mr. Rafsanjani about voter apathy, at the end of the day, I feel people will be scared, you know, to come out en masse to vote as we expect them to. Do you think this is something that is going to influence, you know, 2023 elections?
Yeah, it may probably be, because not even only the voters, even us, the INEC staff, our life is at stake.
Absolutely.
So it has to be stopped. It has to be stopped so that it will give a peaceful atmosphere for the elections to take place.
Some Nigerians, in reaction to this attack, have also called for the need for even more education on the part of INEC and indeed the civil society organization and people, which is a point that was re-emphasized by Rafsanjani on the need for people to understand the opportunities that is afforded them through the instrumentality of elections to bring up very credible leadership. And let us not miss this opportunity by cowing or bowing to this kind of attack. They are perpetrated by very tiny members of our population in a bid to deny the larger society the opportunity to be part of the next general elections. We have been talking with Zainab, an assistant director with INEC, who has provided all kinds of insights and the preparedness of the umpire to deliver a credible, free and fair election come 2023. It's a pleasure to have you join us in the studio.
It's a pleasure.
And it's good to be talking to a lady. She's talked about over 50% of the new voters being women. I hope you steady the course and continue to provide support for yourselves. Women is a critical number in this country. And we are happy whenever we see them playing a very important role in our national polity. Once again, thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming. I hope to pull you through some other time.
All right. Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.